Okay, notice of a regular meeting of the City of Friendswood Planning and Zoning Commission to be held Thursday, January 9th, 2020, beginning at 7 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall located at 910 South Friendswood Drive, Friendswood, Texas. The Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting is called to order. We will now receive any communication from the public or committee liaisons to the commission. To comply with provisions of the Open Meetings Act, the commission may not deliberate on subjects under this agenda item. However, the commission may direct such subjects be placed on a later regular commission agenda for discussion and/or possible action. Seeing no one from the public here tonight with us. Next is the consent agenda. These items are considered routine or ministerial in nature and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item would be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission December 12th, 2019 regular meeting and the December 16th, 2019 annual retreat?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Shows to be unanimous. Okay, next on our agenda is a discussion item regarding amendments to the zoning ordinance, section 7P6, permitted uses, specifically the annual review of the North American Industrial Classification System codes per zoning ordinance 7.P.5 and the permitted use table, and to receive staff recommendations for changes regarding the NAICS use number 447, gasoline stations, number 511, publishing industries, and 713940, fitness and recreational sports centers. Aubrey?
Yes, sir. This is the time that staff takes the opportunity to look at the NAICS code book. Excuse me. And since the codes only update every 5 years, it's not being updated this year. They look at all the industries every 5 years, and they'll add, from years back, they add when new companies kind of evolve or new types of industries like, web or internet-based businesses, they add those to the industry classification. So no changes this year. Staff does make notes throughout the year, and if we have recurring items or anything like that, or items that we want to revisit from the past, then we use this opportunity to bring those up as well. So the proposed changes are 447 gasoline stations. It's currently a specific use permit requirement in the downtown district. Previously, the commission had recommended that this not be allowed in the downtown district, and city council actually preferred the specific use. So we just wanted to bring that up for discussion again and see if we want to revisit that and make another recommendation to city council. That would not allow gas stations in the downtown district. I believe there's only one existing. And just to explain a little bit about the non-conforming uses and structures. If we change the permitted use table and a use becomes non-conforming, that use is allowed to remain as is. It can change owners, it can change names, and we won't do anything with it. If their structure is damaged more than 50%, they can rebuild their structure. It just has to be in conformance with current zoning regulations. So in the downtown district, they would have to do the benches, pavers, and lights, and things like that. But they could continue the use. If that use is ever changed to a conforming use, it can never go back. And if it's abandoned for 12 months or more, then it has to become a conforming use. So that's just a little bit of background on that. As far as the 511 publishing industries, the proposal, do y'all want to discuss these one at a time, or you want me to go over all three of them and then discuss?
You know, I think it can go either way. Why don't, since you brought it up and we stopped there, why don't we take them one at a time then?
Okay.
So, anything else on the gas stations that you want to present?
No.
Okay. This is just for discussion. Mark, anything?
Just, I mean, knowing that there's things that get lost in translation, this is not, is this something that we vote on, not one by one, we vote for the whole table, right?
So tonight is just discussion.
Right.
So if we put this recommendation forward, we would put it together as a whole package.
Okay. And then vote on it then? Right. I just want to make sure that if, and we don't know this yet because we haven't heard from everyone, especially outside the subcommittee, but if this is something we strongly as a committee feel, I mean, if we feel strongly about this, I want that message to get carried across. I just don't want to lose that message because this is something they've touched before. They might be questioning, why are we doing it again? I want to put some justification behind it if we could. So I support removing it.
Lisa?
I don't think I know enough about it. I am behind not having gas stations in the downtown district. I think it goes against what we want in that downtown district, but I guess I don't know the history of why it's controversial at all.
Okay. As we go through, other people may bring up things that you want to come back.
Yeah.
Rich?
Yeah, so the decision last time was that if you wanted to put a gasoline station in the downtown district, you need an SUP. It could be done, but it took an extra barrier. That was kind of a compromise between forbidding them and allowing them. And so it would be a one-by-one, case-by-case basis. However, I can't foresee a time that we would want, I can't foresee a time where we'd want to allow a gasoline station or a service station in the downtown district. There's been a couple of ones potentially proposed right in the heart of Friendswood, and I think it goes against everything we're doing. So I support doing this as well, raising the bar as such to preventing gas stations from coming into the downtown district.
Right. Because in the end, even if it's not in the permitted use table, Aubrey, I assume that somebody would bring it to P and Z, we'd come up, we'd say no, but they could ultimately appeal to city council, right? I mean, city council could come back and say, 5 years from now, city council could always revisit it.
Yeah, but it would be, if we change it to not allowed, and then city council would have to basically ask the commission for a new recommendation.
Fair. Okay.
It would have to go through an ordinance change process again.
Okay. Brett?
As you know, I'm all for this. Our downtown's booked in by 2 gas stations. We got one on each end. So I don't see any need why we need another one in the middle, anywhere between those 2 gas stations. And just to be perfectly clear, the Shell station that is in the downtown district, Aubrey, if it had a Category 5 hurricane, got wiped out completely, he can completely rebuild and be perfectly fine. So he's not at any jeopardy losing his business. He could sell his business. He could transfer it to a family member. So that business not going anywhere. So it'd be a great benefit to him because we're zoning out this competition. So I can't see why he'd be against it. So I'm totally for not having gas stations in downtown.
Eric? Dick?
Yeah, other than being presented with new information or material that I'm not familiar with, I would vote in favor of changing it to not permitted.
Yeah, the only points that concerned me were, I just always want to be, for us to be careful about creating a monopoly. I get your point, there are gas stations kind of on both ends, but then we are, by doing this, creating a monopoly where the Shell station is the gas station in downtown, and that's just what it's going to be. But I think there are close enough other ones that, it's still got to be competitive. But it does seem to be appropriate that all the things that everyone's doing for downtown, what everybody's saying, what the downtown's area is going to look like, that a gas station with a large amount of flammable liquids just doesn't seem like a good idea in the middle of downtown. And the traffic flow, the liquids, that sort of thing. That was only extra points that I guess I was just going to throw out there as we were all talking about it. Anything else from anybody? Anything else that they wanted to bring up or ask?
One other point I did want to make is that these are gas stations like with convenience stores and gas stations without convenience stores. If it was a standalone convenience store, it's classified under a retail use under 445. So if it was just a standalone, like small convenience store or something, that's, under a different use, not, if it doesn't have the gas station with it.
Okay, then I think moving to the next one, if you would, please.
All right, so 511 Publishing Industries is the next category. In your backup material, I copied the pages from the NAICS codes, so you have the full descriptions of those codes. The proposal is to add, allow that use to be permitted in the CSC district and to change the current specific use requirement in downtown to be permitted, to allow that use by right in the downtown district. And basically, the justification behind that, we did have one inquiry for a book publisher that went into a local, like, downtown business. And we were able to find another category to fit them under, like management of companies. But the way that NAICS code now defines publishing companies is the act of, like, gathering the information, doing research, paperwork, and office work, and not necessarily the printing. They can print, books and things as well as a secondary use, but the primary use would be publishing. And so just in today's society, I think you can author a book and get it printed with Amazon. So I think the chances of us getting a big printing industry, in the city of Friendswood's pretty limited. And then also we have other zoning regulations for parking and, things like that are lot sizes, that would limit a big, printing press coming in. So printing itself as a primary use is in another category. So that's what we were proposing, to allow those to be permitted. Any questions on that one?
Mark, Lisa?
I don't have any problem.
Mark, you got anything?
I'm good, thank you.
No, good, no.
Brett?
Sounds good to me.
You answered all my questions in going over about the printing. I just, what's the worst that could do is somebody comes in with a printing press, but really, that's in another code.
Yes.
So, yeah, okay. Thank you. Next one.
The next one is 713940 Fitness and Recreational Sports Centers. This is one that we have further defined with the 6 digits rather than just the 3 digits, because the 713 category was somewhat broad. But if, like, 24-hour fitness and anytime fitness and some of those bigger fitness companies fall under this. We've had some of the boutique businesses want to go in downtown or other, zoning districts, and we just feel like requiring an SUP for those gyms is a little bit onerous. The size of the space that they lease or own is, they're going to have to require or provide the parking for that space, and that was the main concern for, like, 24-hour fitness. If you have a big place, it's going to require a lot of parking. But I think the parking requirements are going to regulate itself, basically. And so rather than having all these little gyms go to council with specific use permits, we're just requesting to change that to permitted.
Aubrey, I missed something you said. Rather than how all those little gyms, and I couldn't hear what you said after that.
Go to city council with specific use permits.
Okay.
Well, here, I'll go the other way. Dick, anything?
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion about this one. Keep listening and thinking.
Brett?
No, I agree with Aubrey. The parking regulations will determine the size of what could go when and where, so I don't have any concerns.
Rich?
Aubrey, did you say there were a couple of actual examples that came up on this in the past year or two?
Yeah, so the CrossFit business next to the Walgreens, there's actually another 8121 is personal care services, and that includes personal training And so we classified them as personal training because it's more one-on-one.
Kind of in the gray area, so you kind of went that way. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. The
yeah.
one over at Tanos, is that in that category? That's what
They
you're talking
did
about?
they did a specific use permit for
Do an
that
SUP.
Anytime Fitness.
So this is trying to avoid burdening council with extra stuff on something that's, we feel should go that way anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That answered my questions. Thank you.
Mark?
So this is an example where we're identifying a specific subcode. Am I using the right word?
Yes.
But there's others in there. I looked like an arcade. Wouldn't necessarily have a problem with an arcade. So when we do things like this, when we're identifying a specific subcode, that's because either we've had requests in the past, so there's something that's driving us to select that specific subcode.
Well, so 713 is actually, so the broad categories: amusement, gambling, and recreation industries.
Right.
So we regulate all of them differently. So casinos, gambling, those are all classified differently. And by calling out, so golf courses and country clubs are included, skiing facilities.
Okay, so like on the previous one, we just approved, that was at like the 511 level. That was the entire category.
Yes.
But this, we're not bringing in all of those other things. We're
Right.
just bringing in that sub.
Yeah, so fitness and recreational sports center, that specifically includes, establishments primarily engaged in operating fitness and recreational sports facilities featuring exercise and other active physical fitness conditioning or recreational activities, such as aerobic dance or exercise centers, ice or roller skating rinks, gymnasiums, physical fitness, handball, swimming, or wave pools.
So my only comment is there are some other subcategories that we might like to target. Not that we have a history that is driving us in that direction, but certainly not opposed to
We have a
this.
few.
Yeah.
Okay. No, my only concern, anything else, I'm sorry. Okay. My only concern was things like the other things that it could be within that code, things like it could be a roller rink, a roller skating rink, a swimming pool. But I think, Aubrey, you kind of made me feel better about it by the parking is going to take care of those kind of things. And there's nothing inherently wrong or not fitting in about those kind of businesses being in downtown. Or being anywhere, I guess. Okay, well, anything else for anybody? Okay, well, and so Aubrey, these will come back to us for a vote in the next meeting, is that correct?
Yeah, if everybody's okay with this, then we can do the newspaper notice and hold our public hearing and make our recommendation to city council. And at that, when we take the vote, we can add more detail, if we want to add some justification to our recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, our next item is consideration and possible action regarding future planning and zoning commission dates. Back to you, Aubrey.
Our next regular meeting may be January 23rd. At this time, we don't have any items for that meeting. Our resubmittal date for that is Monday. So we'll know for sure Monday if we need to have that meeting or not. If we do have that meeting, I will not be here. Stephen Ray, our assistant city manager, will attend in my stead if we do end up having a meeting. And then in February, our meeting dates are Thursday, February 13th, and Thursday, February 27th.
Okay, next on our agenda are communications. Do any commissioners have anything that they wish to communicate? Suggestions for future agenda items, subcommittee updates, general comments, or updates from liaison assignments? We'll start with the updates from some of the subcommittees. First, planning subcommittee. Update, Brett, anything?
Nothing at this time, no.
Rich, on the ordinance subcommittee? No. Okay. Commissioner updates. Mark, anything?
Nothing for me.
Lisa?
Nope.
Rich?
Good.
Eric? Okay. Nothing from me at this time. So with that, Ms. Hanks? Our council liaison update.
Yesterday, we had a dedication to a room, of a room in the library for Joyce Baker. There was a great turnout. She was really touched by that. You know, she's our historian. I won't say her age, but let's say it's between 90 and, you know, maybe a little older.
She's been doing it, what, wasn't it over 40 years or something like that?
Oh, many, since the 1940s. Since the 1940s.
47.
70 years? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, a long time. So it was a great fun. We had a great turnout, and that's all I wanted to say.
No, thank you. Next is staff updates. Aubrey?
The DRC report for December was in your backup material. If you have any questions, it's still pretty slim pickings on DRC, on DRC meetings. Nothing really new. I did want to let you know Friendswood Trails plat was finally recorded. And DR Horton has a few homes under construction. We have issued permits. They had their first plumbing ground inspection last Friday. So they are moving forward, and we met with them yesterday morning, and they're excited and trying to think of some ideas to make some improvements in that subdivision. So it'll be a good thing.
I thought Perry was building over there. Am I wrong on that?
That did not work out.
Oh,
So
okay.
DR Horton ended up taking it over.
Now, with that said, did I also hear that, at least for now, DR Horton is not moving forward with Georgetown? That they've come before us and talked to us about, is that
Not for now.
not for now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they did not, there was a neighborhood commercial piece up, the commercial zoning on the front of that. One of those sold, and during the transaction, they did not acquire the commercial part.
The
But-
Friendswood Trails, you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Friendswood Trails. There's that neighborhood commercial piece that's on 528. So one of those is already sold for some office buildings, about half of that property. So
Good. Anything else?
I think that's it for now.
Anything?
Aubrey, I get asked daily about the Chick-fil-A. Do you have a day when that's going to be open?
Please,
A
tell
lot of
us.
hungry people.
They're saying April.
April? Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
They're moving
There's a
along quickly.
Chick-fil-A at the other end of Friendswood.
Yeah, in that other city north of us, but yeah.
Just make sure you bring your tapes so you can listen while you're waiting to get on the team.
Fair enough. Becky, I'm sorry, is there anything?
Nothing additional. The Chick-fil-A did say when we met with them originally, they had a 16 or 18 week build time. Apparently they build a lot of them and they are very used to it, so they should knock it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, a lot of those buildings, the Valvoline has started, and I think a lot of us have already eaten at some of the Vergata Commons establishments. So, okay, Mary Kay's not here. If nothing else, the Planning and Zoning regular meeting is now adjourned.